The stage lights glimmered softly, reflecting off the tiny silver microphone clutched tightly in the little girl's trembling hands. The school auditorium was filled with chatter, laughter, and the faint sound of tuning instruments. 7-year-old Lily stood alone under the spotlight, her small frame wrapped in a light blue dress her mother had sewn before she got sick. Her big brown eyes scanned the audience nervously, searching for one familiar face that wasn't there. Her mother, bedridden at home, had promised to listen through a live stream. The little girl inhaled shakily, whispering to herself, "This song is for my sick mommy." The crowd grew quiet as gentle piano music began to play. Her voice, fragile yet pure, floated through the room like a beam of light cutting through clouds. Each note carried her love, her pain, her innocent hope that maybe, just maybe, her mother would feel stronger listening to her sing. Asterisk unbeknownst to Lily, sitting near the back of the hall was a tall man in a dark gray suit, her estranged father, Ethan Miller. A well-known millionaire businessman, Ethan had arrived late, trying not to draw attention. His jaw was tense, his blue eyes fixed on the small girl he had never truly met. He had left when she was just a baby, walking away from his wife, Grace. After their marriage crumbled under the weight of his ambition, he didn't even know Lily could sing. Yet now, watching her on stage, something broke inside him. The raw emotion in her voice felt like an arrow to his chest. Around him, people dabbed their eyes, touched by the song's sincerity, but Ethan could barely breathe. Each word Lily sang was a quiet plea for love, for healing. For her mother's life, fanned every note echoed Ethan's greatest regret. Asterisk when the song ended, the hall erupted in applause. Teachers, parents, and children stood up, cheering. Lily bowed shyly, her cheeks glowing with pride, but her eyes glistened with unshed tears. She whispered into the microphone, "Mommy, I hope you heard me." "I love you." Ethan stood frozen, unable to move. His assistant, who had accompanied him, touched his arm and said softly, "Sir, are you all right?" Ethan didn't answer. His thoughts were racing. Could this fragile child really be his daughter? The resemblance was undeniable. The same wavy brown hair, the same dimple when she smiled. He clenched his fists, guilt flooding through him. He wanted to run onto that stage, hug her, tell her who he was. But he didn't deserve that moment. Not after abandoning them. Not after leaving Grace to raise their daughter alone. Asterisk, after the performance. Lily sat backstage holding a small medal the teacher had just pinned to her dress. Her mother had texted from home. "I heard every word, my angel. You made me the happiest mom in the world." Lily smiled through tears. At that moment, Ethan walked closer, hesitant. "Hi there," he said quietly, his voice gentle. "You sang beautifully." Lily looked up, tilting her head curiously. "Thank you, mister," she said politely. "It was for my mommy. She's sick, but she's strong." Ethan's throat tightened. "I'm sure she is," he whispered. "What's your name?" "Lily," she replied with pride. Lily Grace. The name hit him like a punch to the heart. Grace had named their daughter after herself. He wanted to say, "I'm your father," but fear gripped him. Would Grace even allow him near them again? Asterisk, that night, Ethan sat in his car outside the small apartment where Grace and Lily lived. He saw the lights flicker through the window, heard faint laughter. He could see Grace through the curtain thinner now, her hair wrapped in a scarf. But her smile was still warm, radiant even in her weakness. Lily sat beside her, showing her the medal, singing a few lines from the song again. Ethan's eyes burned. He had spent years building an empire, buying mansions and cars. But the one thing he truly wanted, this moment of love, was something he had walked away from. Slowly, he reached into his pocket and pulled out a photograph. It was the last picture they had taken together before he left a family that could have been whole. He pressed it against his chest and made a silent promise. "I will make this right." Asterisk the next morning. Grace was shocked when the doorbell rang. Standing there was Ethan, holding a bouquet of white lily, their daughter's namesake flower. Grace froze, gripping the edge of the door. "What are you doing here?" she asked sharply. Ethan's eyes softened. "I saw Lily sing yesterday. She's incredible, just like her mother." Grace hesitated, anger flashing across her face. "You lost the right to say that years ago," she said coldly. But Ethan didn't leave. "I know, I was a coward. I thought money could replace the things I broke. But hearing her sing for you," his voice cracked, "I realized what I threw away." Grace looked at him silently, torn between resentment and the faint echo of love she thought had died long ago. Lily peeked from behind the curtain, eyes widening when she saw the man from the school hall. "Mommy, that's the man who liked my song?" she said with a grin. Grace closed her eyes, trying to gather herself. Ethan smiled faintly. "Hi, Lily." "Hi, mister." She waved, giggling. "Did you come to see Mommy?" "She's not feeling good, but she's getting better, because I sang." The innocence in her words made both adults fall silent. Ethan knelt down to her level. "You're a very brave girl," he said softly. "Your song made a lot of people happy." Lily blushed. "Really? Really?" He nodded, his voice shaking slightly. Grace watched the scene, her heart heavy. Ethan was still the man who'd hurt her, but seeing him look at Lily that way, there was something different in his eyes now. Days turned into weeks, and Ethan kept visiting, sometimes with groceries, sometimes with books for Lily. Grace tried to resist his help, but her illness made it hard to manage alone. Lily quickly grew fond of him, calling him Uncle Ethan. One evening, while Grace rested, Ethan and Lily painted together on the living room floor. She drew 3 figures holding hands, a man, a woman, and a little girl with a heart above them. "That's us," Lily said proudly. "You, me, and Mommy." Ethan felt his throat tighten again. He wanted to tell her the truth, but Grace wasn't ready. When Grace woke up and saw the drawing, she said softly, "She deserves to know someday." Ethan nodded, tears glistening. "Only when you say it's time," he replied. Grace's health slowly improved. The doctor said her recovery was a miracle, but Lily insisted it was because of her song. One sunny afternoon, the 3 of them went to the park together for the first time. Lily ran ahead, chasing butterflies, laughing, her laughter echoing through the trees. Grace leaned on Ethan's arm, their silence warm and peaceful. "You know," she said quietly, "when I heard her sing, I felt hope again." Ethan looked at her, his eyes soft. "She has your strength," he whispered. Grace smiled faintly. "No, she has both of ours." For the first time in years, he felt like part of something real, a family that might still be mended. Months later, Lily was invited to perform at a charity concert. As she walked on stage, she looked into the crowd and saw both her parents sitting side by side, holding hands. "This song," she said into the microphone, "is for my mommy, and for my daddy who came back." The audience gasped softly, unaware of the full story behind those words. As Lily began to sing, the melody wrapped around them like sunlight. Grace squeezed Ethan's hand, whispering, "She forgave you before I ever could." Ethan nodded, tears streaming down his face. For the first time, he didn't feel like a millionaire or a businessman, just a father. Sitting beside the woman he loved, listening to the voice of the little girl who had healed them both. After the concert, the crowd's applause thundered through the auditorium, echoing like a heartbeat of joy. Lily took a bow, her tiny hands clutching the microphone as she smiled through tears. Backstage, Grace waited in her wheelchair, her eyes glistening with pride. Ethan stood behind her, his arm gently resting on the chair's handle, his heart full for the first time in years. When Lily rushed into her mother's arms, Grace whispered, "You did it, my angel." Lily giggled, turning to Ethan. "Did I sing good, Daddy?" Ethan knelt, his voice trembling. "You sang perfectly, sweetheart." The little girl threw her arms around his neck, and for a brief moment, the world felt whole again. The photographers captured that tender scene, a picture of healing, love, and reunion. It wasn't just a performance anymore. It was a story of forgiveness rewritten under bright lights. A reminder that even the deepest wounds could find music again in the heart of a child who'd never stopped believing. Weeks later, the video of Lily's song went viral, touching millions of hearts around the world. Comments poured in, people cried, smiled, and shared their own stories of love and forgiveness. Grace watched the video one morning, her hands trembling as she read messages from strangers who said her daughter's courage had inspired them to call their families again. Ethan, standing beside her, couldn't stop smiling. He had returned to his business empire, but everything felt different now, softer, more human. Lily would often visit his office after school, filling the cold glass building with laughter and warmth. One afternoon, Ethan surprised her by bringing a piano into her room, carved with her name and a small heart beside it. "For your next song," he said, his voice thick with emotion. Grace watched quietly, realizing that their daughter had achieved something she never could. She had healed them both, without even knowing it. And as Lily played her gentle tune, sunlight poured through the window, wrapping them in golden peace, as if the universe itself was applauding their reunion.